What if the reason that so many women are struggling to follow through with their commitments to their fat loss goals, their fitness goals, is not because they need a better plan, but because they haven't yet learned how to become aware of their thoughts and the thoughts that are driving the behaviors? And so today I want to talk about something that is very powerful. This one practice for me has completely changed the way that I observe my own thoughts, how I manage my own emotions, and how I make decisions. And that is mindfulness. Now, this word gets thrown around a lot. Mindfulness, mindset. But there's actual neuroscience behind why this practice that I'm going to talk about today can actually change not just the way that we think and the way that we feel, but it can change the way that your brain works. Let's get into it. Hey girl, welcome back to another episode of Rock That Fitness with Anna Rockstar. And you. Yes, man, I've had several episodes in a row. No guest. I've been thinking it's time for another guest episode. So if you have a recommendation, let me know, because I don't need to be the only one here. But I do enjoy it. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for your loyalty, for your dedication, staying here, and coming back to the podcast time and time again. Hope you're having a great day, girl. I am a little bit scattered. I'm not going to lie. I'm recording this podcast episode on a Tuesday because there's a lot going on this week. We're going to be taking a trip, and I had to get things done early. So, any updates? Well, I don't even know sometimes if I shared this on my podcast episodes or if it's just in social media, but I don't know. Maybe I shared it here. We took on taking care of Sadie, my mom's dog, and she's 9 years old, and I took her on. It was a lot that took place. I don't need to talk about all that, but when I took her on, she had a very injured eye that there was already an attempt for a surgical procedure on it, but not looking good. So she had to undergo surgery for her eye, get it removed, her right eye, and today is post-op day 8, and she's doing great. And her eye, the lids that are sutured together, they're healing well. She's got more energy. It's been 2 days. She's been off of pain medication and everything, so she's doing very well. My Daisy May, she's growing fast. She's over here taking a little nap. Hopefully she'll stay there while we're together on this episode. Things are going well. Again, I am definitely navigating very challenging things in my life. And I know I've been talking about this because it's been a thing. It's been very heavy. It's been a lot going on since my mom's death, even since before my mom's death, but then after my mom's death, then I'm dealing with, as you can imagine, some things going on that are heavy and tense, having to do with her estate, and I'm not really at liberty to talk about it. So, but I share as much as I can because I'm always going to be open and keeping it real with you. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm going to be talking about what I'm talking about today. And so probably may as well just get into it. Oh, another lifey update. My mini cut that I talked about last week is today's day 37, and I'm noticing like the mini cut is finally cutting. The cutting is finally cutting, and it's not significant, but I can feel it. I can see it more in the mirror, and it feels good. It feels so good. I am not starving myself. I am just in a slight calorie deficit, still staying moving. But like I said last week on that episode, which if you missed it, I talked a lot about how this mini cut is going for me and how it's different this time because my activity level has significantly decreased, which caused things to stay the same for almost 3 weeks when it came to the scale. And so it really messed with my mind, and I pushed through, and we're still going, girl. So if you're with me, we got this. So that's the other lifey update. I'm excited for that. It feels good for me because my clothes are fitting better. I was a little bit, kind of had gained a little bit more fat, and fat takes up more space. But I haven't increased in clothes sizes since my transformation, so that is not an issue. But when I start feeling a little fluffy and then I get in a cut and I get more lean, it sure does feel good, right? It just feels so good to be fitting better in your clothes. Except sometimes some of my shorts will be too loose. Like, well, that's a good problem to have, but I don't want to go shopping. And not because I don't like to shop. I love shopping now, but I don't want to put the time in. I'm something about the time it takes to go do it. And that's why I've been doing a lot of online shopping. That's right. I need to get back online and do some online shopping for clothes because I'm really overdue for some fashion. Well, I think that's all for the Lifey updates. I could go on and on about Lifey updates. I should also mention, and I do want to mention, that Country Boy, during all this time, he is my hero and has been, just a tremendous support, encouragement, and amazing just to have him in my life and all that he does and helps me with. But okay, let's talk about what I'm going to talk about today. Today, the reason, or I should say, this episode is actually inspired by two things. One, all the stuff that has been happening these past few months for me that have been heavy, hard, potentially stressful, sometimes it's more stressful than other times. I have been navigating them like in ways that the old me would never even imagine to be navigating the things that I'm navigating right now. So I'm inspired by that because I've had several of my clients and people on social media reach out to me and they want to know, like, how do you do it? What is the thing that you do? What are you doing? How are you keeping your mindset so strong? How are you strong? What's the inner strength? What are you doing to be able to navigate such stressful life crisis the way that you do? And still have joy and peace and calm in the midst of it most of the time, right? Not perfectly. Well, that was one of the inspirations for me. Like, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast episode about that. And also, shout out to Kim from Houston, Texas. Honestly, I don't even know Kim. I don't know your last name. Kim N. last name. She had emailed me and she wanted to know more about what I'm doing with my mindful practice and what that's all about. So Kim, thank you for the shout out. Thanks for the email. You guys, when you guys respond to my emails, by the way, if you're not on my email list, please get on it. That will be in the show notes. Chrissy, if you don't mind, please put that in the show notes so people can sign up for the Rockstar Fit Chick Weekly. I send out a weekly email. And it's, usually it's an encouragement. There's a lot of value every week. You're going to know what's going on with me. Keep up to date with any offers or anything going on with Rock That Fitness. So if you're not on that, Rockstar Fit Chick Weekly, get on it. But what I want to say is, I so appreciate those of you who respond. Back in the day when I first started Rock That Fitness and I had separated myself from WW Weight Watchers, at that time, for whatever reason, I had so many emails, so many people emailing me at that time. It was a lot of people from Weight Watchers. I was getting bombarded at the time. I had over 43,000 followers on the Connect app inside of Weight Watchers. I'm not saying that to brag. I am nothing like that. It's just that there were so many connections and so many people of support and just that love and support in that time period that I'd get all these emails. At that time, it was overwhelming. And that's one thing too, I'll talk about why I needed to be doing this mindful practice. But it was overwhelming and it would cause me anxiety. These days, I think it's just kind of like old hat. Everybody's emailing. You're getting a ton of emails. Nobody's really responding anymore. So when I get a reply, I'm like, somebody emailed me back. So just in case you want to know, in case you think I'm just getting bombarded with emails, no, I'm not. So thank you, Kim, for replying to an email and letting me know that you appreciate my lifey updates, that you've been listening to the podcast for years. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being part of the inspiration for this episode today. Thank you. And then last but not least, inspired episode is because I am so excited for the 21-day Rockstar Rewired Reset program that I am in the middle of creating. I'm so excited about that because so many people, so many women are asking me how to do this and that. And this is the reason that this is another inspiration for doing this episode, because what I'm creating is a 21-day Rockstar Rewired Reset where for 21 days, I am going to provide to you a little mini lesson each day for 10 minutes. It's going to be less than 10 minutes, about 10 minutes a day, where you're going to show up first thing in the morning to create intention for your day. And each of those days, there's going to be a little mini lesson. And then there's going to be an opportunity to spend some time in some mindfulness, preparing our mind for the day with intention, where we will intentionally rewire some of the old thinking that's not serving us anymore, and like rewire, add some new hardware into our brain so that we start thinking differently, feeling differently, and then the outcome will be new behaviors and actions and different behaviors that will actually help us to change, become stronger from the inside out, and achieve those results that we want in our fat loss that we've been struggling with all these years, actually achieve building some habits and behaviors to get that. So that's what this is all about. So I'm excited about it. So that also is inspiring this. By the way, if you're not on my priority list for the 21-day Rockstar Rewired Reset, get on the priority list, because this is my first time offering this, and only people who are on the priority list are going to be notified when I open the doors. So make sure you're on that list. Also, when this comes out, this is going to be limited spots because it's my first time doing this, and I just want to limit the spots. And there's going to be a private community that we're going to have on Facebook specifically for this Rockstar Rewired. It's going to be this Rockstar Rewired Reset for private community. Okay, that's all that I want to say about that. That's a lot I said. So thank you for being patient. But there's so many reasons why I'm inspired to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. So let's get into it, because we're already almost 12 minutes in here. What is mindfulness and meditation, and why did I start practicing it? Years ago, and I know I've had an episode talking about meditation and mindfulness in the past, but I don't even know where it is. But this one's going to be better because I've learned more, right? I've grown and learned more about it. Let me drink some water. But I feel like it deserves, let's talk about a definition, because there's a difference. So the definition of mindfulness is the practice of intentionally bringing your awareness to the present moment, noticing your thoughts, noticing your emotions, physical sensations, and surroundings without immediately judging them or reacting to them. That's mindfulness, the practice of bringing your awareness to the present moment. And mindfulness is something that we can practice throughout everyday life. And we can be mindful while we're eating. We can be mindful while we're walking. We can be mindful while we're exercising. We can be mindful while we're having conversations. Or we can be mindful while we're simply just sitting quietly. I'm being mindful right now as I'm talking with you. I'm mindful. The temperature in the room feels good. I can hear little Miss Daisy back there breathing and moving around. I'm mindful of this. I'm mindful that we're talking about mindfulness. But what is the definition of meditation? Meditation is an intentional practice of focusing your attention and developing awareness of your thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, and or the present moment. So it is a practice of training your attention and awareness, and your mind. And when your mind wanders, you notice where it wandered to. Where did your mind go? And then you practice bringing your attention back rather than automatically following every thought. That's the distinction. So the simple distinction between mindfulness, the mindfulness is the skill of awareness, and meditation is the one way that we can practice and strengthen that skill. So years ago, when people would talk about meditation, I would be like, oh, meditation is just this like, I thought it was something that monks did and some strange spiritual weird thing that was ungodly and strange. Okay, I'm going to be I'm always going to keep it real with you. I thought it was something weird. I didn't know, right? And whenever we don't know something, like, we're going to have fear about it because it's the fear of the unknown. Anytime we have a resistance to anything, there's an underlying fear. Just FYI, there's a fear in there. So for me, I did have that. I didn't understand it. But what led me to start my own mindful/meditation practice, and what it has done for me personally is what I want to share with you. So back when I had started my business of Rock That Fitness, probably about a year or so in, I was very curious about my own mindset, because the transformation that I had made was like crazy. Like, I never thought, like, I didn't think all those years that I struggled with my weight, that I had this body transformation in 14, 18 months, and I was keeping it off. But I thought it was all just mindset. And I would talk about mindset a lot back then. It's funny, but I didn't really know. Like, I thought mindset was like, you have this mindset, like, you think this way, just change the way you think, change your mindset. You're good. Change your mindset. You're good. But I didn't understand the depth of it. What got me interested in a mindful practice/meditation was I was having a lot of anxiety at the time. And we're talking, this was like back in 2022. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was some perimenopausal stuff too. I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. I was experiencing a lot of restlessness, sleeplessness, not being able to, sleep through the night. There was a lot of stuff, and I had a lot of things on my mind, and I was feeling very stressed and overwhelmed with business and conducting all the things I needed to do a business. I had never run a business before, so I had all this, I felt like I had all this inside me anxiety. Well, I reached out to a coach who did mindfulness, and he taught mindfulness and meditation to professional teams, sports. And he recommended some things to try, some apps to try. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try it out. And I was like, how do I start this? I wanted to know, how do you start this? So, well, there are apps you can get. Wow, I didn't know you could get apps that would help you learn how to practice being mindful. But I also learned that there was science behind it. And as a nurse, that meant a lot to me, because I knew that it wasn't just some kind of woo-woo thing. I'm like, I didn't have to worry about that. That there was actual science backing up the practice of meditation and the practice of having a mindful practice. So I started experimenting. I started researching different apps and seeing what I liked and trying to find one that would work. He made some recommendations, and I didn't like the ones that had music in the background at the time. Now, I do both, depends on what I'm after. But what I was after at the time was truly, I wanted to train my brain. I wanted to train my brain so that I could shut off those emotions of anxiety so that I could truly focus and have awareness. That was the other thing. I was having a lot of trouble focusing. I would be in the middle of a task and my mind would wander. I would go do something else, and I was having difficulty completing tasks in a timely manner. So I'll try to make this part short. I had tried different apps and I settled in on this one app. You've probably heard me talk about it. I don't use it a lot so much now, but a great app by Dan Harris. It's called Happier. It used to have a different name, but now it's called Happier. And the great thing that I love about this app is it's for any beginner to start out having a mindful practice. And you don't have to start out with like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour of meditation. Like that sounds so intimidating. You can actually just do a few minutes, 5 minutes. And there were courses in here, and I was learning about mindful practice and meditation through this app because there were courses in there and there were teachers in there, and there were little challenges like 10-day challenges on anxiety, like relieving anxiety. There were like 10-week challenges or 14-day challenges for like self-compassion, and woo, boy did I need that at the time. So that was my start, and highly recommend it. Reach out to me if you want a trial. I can give you my code or I send you an invitation, because it is a paid app, but I loved it because it didn't have music in the background. And I know that there's nothing wrong with music in the background, but I really wanted to focus on developing and building the mindful skill. And I didn't want some of my brain to be utilizing energy for processing music in the background. I'm getting like really in the weeds here, but that's what I wanted at the time. So I didn't get the one with music. I got the Happier app. So that's what got me into it. And I learned what it really meant to bring my awareness back to the present moment rather than worrying about the future or having regrets about the past or any of those things that create anxieties inside of me or us. And I began to practice. And the thing I loved was that I was learning how to redirect my mind when thoughts would, I'd start having thoughts or I'd start planning. I would recognize those things and I'd bring my thoughts back, bring my mindfulness back into this place, whether I was focusing on my breathing or focusing on where I was sitting. That was like my anchor. And it was something that I knew I didn't have to be perfect at. I can just keep showing up each day and getting better at it. And some days I felt like, wow, that was a really good session. I was really able to stay present. I was actually judging we're not supposed to be judging, like we're supposed to be doing this, practicing this and experiencing our mindful practice without judgment. And there I was sometimes at the end going, oh man, I couldn't keep my focus for anything today. That was not a very good mindful practice. But I learned that now it's not about how well I was able to stay present. It was about showing up each day and continuing the practice, because that's the only way that we get better. And you can, this is the same thing with like strength training. The only way to get stronger and build muscle is to keep showing up. It's not about being perfect. So what does my mindful practice look like today? Because it's been years now that I have been practicing meditation. And what's happening in the beginning of my day? That's the first thing I do before I get on social media, before I do any emails, interact with the world, even before I talk to Country Boy. And that was something that kind of happened too, that it was kind of a little strange thing. He didn't quite understand what was going on and why I was doing this. And I was like, I just need you to understand it's not personal. But for me, it's helping me start my day where I'm not thinking about anything. Hold on, I'm going to drink some water. Because, I didn't mute it. Sorry. Sorry about that. I hope you're drinking some water with me. If you're like me, this brain just likes to think a lot. Sometimes I think too much. And yes, I tend to overthink. I do have a tendency to do that sometimes. So I let him know, I need to just not think, because he likes to talk about things first thing in the morning, about things that we're trying to work on, problems happening in, life, just life stuff that we're dealing with, or what he's doing that day, or what he needs help, what I need, or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to start my day thinking about what has to happen that day. I just want to get into my mindful practice. So he understood. So first thing in the morning, that's what I practice. I go and do that, sometimes on the back patio. Since all of this stuff that's been happening with cats and kitties and the dogs, I have been doing my mindful practice inside of the Rockstar suite. That's my guest bedroom. So first thing, before I read anything that's happening externally, no emails, no text messages, no social media, just me and my mindful practice starting the day. And I've actually learned over time how to do it unguided, because you can have guided practice where you are listening to someone guiding you. And as you grow in the practice and get, more, you just get better at it, then you can learn how to do it unguided. And I do a lot of unguided practice myself. So why has learning to observe my thoughts instead of automatically reacting to them become so important to me? As I said, I'm just reading some questions I asked myself here. Because when I can notice my thoughts, then I can choose how I want to respond rather than react. Now, does that mean I never react? No, of course not. I'm human. I do sometimes. It's a continuous practice. But it has truly helped me learn how to navigate everything, literally everything. My own personal well-being, my own personal health, my own personal fitness, how I navigate my day-to-day things, how I plan my life, how I schedule, how I manage my time. It has done so much for me, so much focus, so much awareness about things and how to stay present, and staying present and having an attitude of gratitude. It has just been transformational from the inside. It's amazing. So I cannot speak enough greatness about it. It has truly changed me. And let me give you an example of how in tune I am, because there is neuroscience. I'm going to talk about that. But what I want to talk about here just briefly is understanding our nervous system. So knowing that my brain and my, the nerves that are connected to the spinal cord and go out to the nerves all of my body, that I can actually train. To me, that's like mind blowing. Pun intended. And it is so mind blowing that we can train our brain, and being able to regulate the nervous system is a superpower. I really think it is. So when things happen that activate my nervous system, and I can sense it, and I know you're going to get that. I know you're going to understand this. Like, activate my nervous system in a sense, like suddenly I feel stressed or fear. And I know that it's just simply the nervous system getting activated, right? We've got those two things that can happen: fight or flight, or we can rest and digest, right? I know I've talked about this before, but when I get that sense where survival kicks in and I'm having fear, stress, worry, I notice it. And then suddenly I've gotten better and better over practice and practice, where I can take a deep breath and notice it, and I can become aware of where that's coming from. Where did that thought come from that created this emotion? And then I can take deep breaths, breathing, and I can redirect my thoughts, and I can find truth. What is the truth? Where's my mind going? Am I thinking about the past? Am I thinking about the future that I have no control over? Can't change the past. No control about the future. Let's stay present. And it's like, just staying present is transformational. But here's I'll give you a little, this is very personal. I'm going to get very vulnerable right now. Perfect example. Since my mom passed away, I don't think I've talked about this. I shared this with Country Boy and a friend, but before my mom passed away, probably about a year before she did, she came over. I think I might have talked about this with you, but I didn't share what happened recently. So let me tell you. So she came over about a year ago, and she brought me this large, beautiful set of chimes, wind chimes that she loves to bring. She would love to bring me things. That was her love language, I think, gifts. And she would come over and she brought me this wind chime, and it was big. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't really like wind chimes. I want peace and quiet. And I feel like the wind is loud enough with the trees and the leaves and all the noise, that wind blowing through your ears and hair. And I'm like, wind chimes for me feels like activating my nervous system. And that's more noise. But that's something you can train too, right? If I wanted to train myself, I could train myself to just accept wind chime sounds. And so what I did when my mom brought those over, she's like, if you don't want it, it's okay. You don't have to have it. I know you don't like me to bring it. I'm like, my mom, it's okay. I decided when she brought me that, I said, you know what? I'm going to put these wind chimes up. And it's crazy because even at that time, I thought to myself, when she passes away, I'm going to be thinking about her with these wind chimes. I thought of that, I mean, do you think those kind of things too? Well, it's been hard, and I had those wind chimes up, and a good friend of mine too also sent me a set of wind chimes when my mom passed away. So I was like, oh, another set of wind chimes. It just activates my nervous system. I sense it. But I put them up. I felt like this sense of obligation. It was a gift, and I put them up. And so all this time since my mom passed away on April 29th, the wind chimes have been chiming, and they've been activating me even more. And activating me more, especially during this time that I'm dealing with my mom's estate and some legal matters and all the stuff happening with that. And it's like every time I would hear the wind chimes, and where I live, the wind is like extra strong. So it's like windy wind chimes happening all the time. And it was just activating me all the time. And I would be like, okay, breathe. You don't have to let it activate you. Like I was having to really do a lot of mindful practice. Well, last week, I don't know, less than a week ago, I made a decision to bring the wind chimes down. I took both sets down. Not forever. It's not like I'm never going to put them up, but just not now. I made a choice for myself that I needed to help regulate my nervous system and bring some calmness. I decided to take them down, and I have no guilt or shame or nothing. I feel at peace. It's not forever, but I took them down. They're sitting on the picnic table out there, and it's actually helped me feel more peaceful. But I did that because I knew it was activating my nervous system. And so that's just one example. And sometimes I'll notice certain things will activate, and I'll decide, do I want to train my brain to just accept and be at peace with this, or do I need to remove it? So anyway, it's just been helpful. So what does the science tell us about mindfulness and the brain? So there's this thing called neuroplasticity. And when we repeatedly practice, when we have a repeated mindful practice and meditation, we can actually train our brain. There can be actual changes. And there's research. This is what's exciting to me. And I learned this too through the Happier app, that research has shown that meditation and areas of the brain involved in attention and stress and emotion and regulation, learning and memory, these areas of the brain have actual change. Like there's more gray matter that gets denser, and there becomes improvement in things like memory and learning and awareness, self-awareness, self-compassion. There's studies that have proven this. So that to me is exciting to know that at any age, our brain has this thing called neuroplasticity. It has the ability to change. We can improve our learning and memory and self-compassion and awareness and focus. And that is very exciting. Like, just like you can change your body composition, just like you can build muscle and get stronger by consistently practicing, repeating. So repeating mindfulness, repeating meditation, showing up every day consistently, you're changing your brain. And that, as a nurse, is very exciting to me. And you can look this up if you want to, the Holtzel et al. Study. This is the studied meditation. There were participants in this. It's a limited study. Every study out there is a limited study, but it's still very fascinating. I think it's very valid, and I can attest to my own practice, and people who have been practicing meditation and a mindful practice for years will attest to the changes. And so what happened in this 8-week research, where they had these participants do a mindful-based stress reduction program for 8 weeks, the MRI results showed changes in gray matter concentration in several brain regions, including, and now we're going to get all like technical, the hippocampus, a region important for learning and memory, like I just said. And the takeaway isn't that meditation magically changes your brain overnight. The bigger point here is that the brain is capable of adapting in response to repeated experiences and practice. And that's why we need to become aware of the things that are causing us fear and anxiety and worry, because we can actually change that. All that is our subconscious brain trying to keep us safe. That's what the brain's job. That's what it's meant to do. Keep us safe, protect us. But it's not so much helping us when we're actually trying to make changes and do things differently so that we have different results when it comes to our health and our fitness. So neuroplasticity, that's the brain's ability to change and adapt the structure, the function, and the neural connections in response to experience and learning. And so I get so excited about this, just like, wow, we can train our brain legit. If we can train our brain, think about the possibilities, the success you can have in your goals, in your commitments to yourself. So what does mindfulness have to do with changing our behavior and our body? Well, becoming aware of my thoughts and my emotions creates space, right? We've all heard like, oh, that's a trigger. I get triggered. And this happens, right? When we get an emotion, it causes a behavior, an action. But when we become aware of it, now we have power to choose how we want to respond. If we want to choose differently, we want to respond differently. And so this applies to things like many women, and even myself in the past, who have struggled with all or nothing thinking, or perfectionism, or fear of failure, and not feeling good enough. Oh my gosh, that's a big one that I have struggled with for years. And from time to time, it still creeps up for me. And continually starting over with your commitment to your health and your fitness goals. So think about how this can apply. So if you haven't been aware of these things in the past, naturally, it's a pattern. Your brain hasn't changed. But we have the ability to change our brain when we become aware. And when we do these mindful practices, we become even more aware, and we get better at becoming aware of our thoughts, recognizing those emotions, and choosing differently, and then repeatedly changing what we do, doing things differently, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, right? Because change doesn't happen in the comfort zone. You've heard this, but this is all, I hope this is, coming together for you if you haven't fully put all the pieces together, because it's deep. There's a lot here. And I'm only just scratching the surface, but I'm hoping to give you the insight to how powerful having a mindful practice is and a meditation practice. The main thing is to understand how our thoughts are connected to our emotional state. So your brain has a thought, and it stirs up emotions in your nervous system, gets connected. Your brain is trained, your body is trained. And so we can train our emotions, we can train our body. But the thoughts create emotions. Those emotions are meant to create a behavior. And then that behavior repeated over time creates a pattern. And that pattern over time creates the results. It's just like consistency. You need to have consistency if you want results. Well, this is how you do it, right? You become aware of your thoughts, what emotions that's creating for you, and then the behaviors, and then the repeated pattern, and then the results. Powerful, girl, the power we have when we do this. But just like anything, you got to practice. You got to show up imperfectly and do it. But when we become aware of what is happening earlier in that sequence, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, repeated pattern, and then results, when we become aware of what's happening earlier in that sequence, we have the opportunity to interrupt an automatic pattern and intentionally choose what we want to do next. That's some powerful stuff. You cannot intentionally change a pattern that you're not aware of, right? That's why you hear the cliche, you hear it all the time. Change begins with awareness. Like, awareness is the beginning of change, because you can't change something you're not aware of. You can't change a pattern that you're unaware of. We have great patterns in our lives, and we have patterns that are not serving us, right? So what do we want to change? So let's drink some water. Remember to mute that time. Thank you. Is mindfulness or meditation religious, or is it spiritual? Do I have to subscribe to a particular religion or a spiritual belief to practice mindfulness or meditation? And the answer is no. You don't. In fact, I think a lot of people think that doing a mindful practice or meditation in the morning is something spiritual, where you read a devotion, you read your Bible or that kind of thing. That's separate. That's a different thing. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It is legit practicing being aware and noticing our thoughts and choosing the behaviors that we want, and then getting the pattern in place by repeating and getting the results. And it's been such a powerful tool for me. And when it comes to religion, it's not a religious thing, but for me, it's very spiritual, and it can be a spiritual thing. For me, it's a spiritual thing, but in the sense that I believe that there is God. I believe that I'm created by God. I believe that God loves me, and I can experience God's love through me and in me while I am in this, and knowing that I've been created by a higher power. God in the universe created me, and that those thoughts and the love in me, that God is a creator, and that I believe that I was made in the likeness of God, and by that nature, that means I am a creator. So I am creating my life. I'm a creator. And so being in the mindful practice is like, I get to create my life, because I really do believe that our life is all about choices. And everything that has happened up until this point, we've had decisions that we've made along the way to get us here. And where we are right now is a pivotal moment of what we want to do with our life, and we can create by the choices that we make. We have choices day in and day out. I can choose to show up every day to make choices that will improve my health. I can choose that. So I can create a healthier, fitter, stronger body and mind. I can choose that. So for me, it is spiritual, because every time I sit down for a mindful practice, I am thankful and grateful that the Creator created me, and I have a purpose in life, and that I don't have to be perfect. And the love that's there fills me up and helps me want to share that love with other people. And it's so peaceful and calm, and it fills me with joy and gratitude. And when I get in my mindful practice and I don't come into that space, that spiritual space, it's different. It's not the same for me personally. And I've noticed that, like, what's going on? Why am I not feeling that sense of peace? And I was like, oh, I didn't remember to be in that presence of my spiritual being, my God. And I believe we're all spiritual, and you don't have to believe that. And I respect your beliefs and your religion. I'm just telling you what I believe in. And so I can observe my thoughts and everything in light of that, and knowing that my body and my brain was created, and I am not my body and I am not my brain. I am the entity, the spiritual being that lives in this body and brain, and I can manage it. So you don't have to have a spiritual, you don't have to, but knowing that you can repeatedly practice, a mindful practice, will help you strengthen that. Strengthen becoming aware of your thoughts and emotions and the behaviors and repeat the patterns. So you don't have to believe a certain way when it comes to a religion or a spiritual thing to identify, right? Or to obey every thought that you have. You have choices. And so we can develop this awareness by becoming very intentional to train our brain and our body towards that person that we want to become. I love that. I get so excited about this. But again, there's an important distinction that mindfulness and meditation do not require a particular religion or belief. I mean, I think you do need to kind of believe that it works to do it. Like if you don't believe something's going to work, then it's not going to work. Like bottom line. If you're trying to show up to improve your nutrition and you don't believe it's going to help you, then you're not going to continue to do it, right? Kind of seems elementary, but it's true. But mindfulness and meditation can be practiced completely secularly. You can choose to incorporate mindfulness and meditation into your own faith and your own practice, your own spiritual practice if you want to. And science can demonstrate our ability to develop awareness of our thoughts and train our attention and change the learned patterns and behavior. So it's wonderful because it's science, but I believe that God made science. I believe in science. That's what Skeletor says on Nacho Libre. I believe in science. Well, so do I. But I believe God created science. And so the belief that I am more than my thoughts, I'm more than my brain or my physical body, and that there is an awareness or a consciousness of self. That's the part that I want to make clear, right? Because as we can have that personal spiritual thing or a philosophical thing, belief, rather than something neuroscience. Okay, but neuroscience has definitively proven this practice does work. I love it. So how do you begin a mindful practice, and how can you use this for your health and your fitness goals? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because if you've never practiced mindfulness meditation, what I would say is start simple. Find an app. You can do I think there's like Headspace, Calm. What I learned is that the free apps are not that great, and I'm not really gonna recommend them. But go look up some things, ask around, and Rockstar ladies, if you are, in the community, ask around, post in the community and ask who does mindful practice, what apps do you recommend. I know people have asked this before. Like I said, there's Calm, there's Headspace, I think there's Insight, Timer, and then I use Happier. But I also do a lot of unguided meditation myself. And I'm also a part of a group. I'm in a community that practices meditation as well. So start small. And this is going to lead me to saying this is going to be a great opportunity to start small by doing the 21-day Rockstar Rewired reset with me. What else? Let me look at my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah. You just want to start out small, 5 minutes a day. Just take 5 minutes, just right now, just start tomorrow morning. Just say, I'm going to carve out 5 minutes each day just to sit down and become aware of the present moment. Just do that, 5 minutes. The other thing I do too, I didn't mention, each day, one of the practices I've started doing recently is I do journal some. I didn't used to journal, but I've found journaling to be very powerful. But also, one thing I do almost every day is I'll write several things that I'm grateful for, my gratitudes, at least 3. And one of those is something very simple that I will include in there. And then I've got 3 gratitudes and I have 3 thrives. I can't remember who recommended this, but I've been doing this for a while now and I love it. Thrives for that day, what I'm grateful for that day, and then 3 thrives. But sometimes I do more than 3. Thrives being, what am I doing today? What am I going to focus on to thrive today? And I write that every day in my little journal. Something else. So you can just do that. You can just show up for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just be still with your thoughts and focus on the present, not the past, not the future, not worrying, not planning, not judging, just being. And start there. And this practice is going to develop over time and you're going to notice. Just start with 5 minutes, maybe just to remove as many distractions as you can and just become still. Focus your attention on your breath. Focus on the present moment. Focus on an anchor, which could be your breath. That's what they call your anchor. Like just focus on breathing in and out. And when your mind wanders, just notice it. And notice, it noticed. My thought is wandering. That means bring it back. That doesn't mean it's wrong. That means you caught it. You became aware and you brought it back. And it's a practice. And she's waking up. So when she wakes up, she pulls that blanket down. Daisy May. You bring your attention back and then you repeat. The mind is going to wander. It's not failure. It's just noticing that it wandered. And that's part of the practice. So again, I really do hope that there was something in this episode that was helpful to you. And I'd love to hear from you, whether you reply to me on email or you send me a message here. Those of you who do, shout out to you. I really appreciate the feedback more than you know, because I know there's just a lot of content going out there. So many podcasts, so much social media. It's noisy, quite frankly. And it's a lot. So those of you who take the time to respond and reply, I really appreciate it, and I don't take it lightly, so thank you for doing that. If you would take a few minutes to share this episode with somebody, I'd appreciate that. If you take a few minutes to, give me some stars, give a review, that would be awesome. So appreciate it. I really would appreciate it. So in closing, if your goal truly is to shed fat and become stronger and healthier and fitter, but you struggle with consistency and following through with yourself, with your commitments to yourself, consider whether this is the missing piece for you. It's not another nutrition plan, another diet plan, another workout plan. Well, of course we have that, right? Because, we need something to take action on, and we need to have the right strategy in place. We need to have the right strategy in place for our nutrition and for our workouts to get our goals. But we need to have the right mind and rewired mind and thinking and awareness and emotions and patterns to follow through on those things. And so, like I say, maybe you already have all of this down. Maybe you already have a lot of knowledge when it comes. You already know what to do with your nutrition and your workout, but you keep on getting caught in patterns like all or nothing, perfectionism, fear of failure, feeling like you're never doing enough or it's not good enough, focusing on everything you're doing wrong rather than all the things you're doing right. Without, you're not sharing, you're not celebrating your wins, you're focusing on all the things that are wrong. Giving up when things aren't going perfectly, or knowing what to do and struggling to consistently do it, or you're consistently starting over and you're frustrated with that. And now you're done. Like, I really do hope that this brings to light some things for you, because it takes courage to notice this stuff and to say, yeah, you know what? I'm ready to do the inner work. And so this is exactly, like I said, this is exactly why I'm getting out of my comfort zone and creating this thing called the 21-day Rockstar Rewired Reset. So the goal is to begin practicing the mental side of the body transformation by becoming more aware of your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns, the patterns that influence your behavior, and practicing becoming that woman who consistently follows through on the commitments that she makes to herself. And by creating that consistency and following through, you're going to achieve your goals. So if that's you and you're ready to stop continually starting over and begin building this mindset that we talk about and becoming that person and behaviors that support and are in alignment with your goals to be strong, fit, and healthy, the body that you want to maintain for life, then girl, get on the priority list for this 21-day Rockstar Rewired Reset. All right. Go to the show notes. The link is going to be there because you cannot change what you're not aware of. And like I say, I know it takes courage to do that because there is a fear of the unknown. But nothing changes if nothing changes. So the choices that you repeatedly make are what ultimately change your body for life. Okay? She's awake. I better get back to life. Thanks so much, girl, for hanging out with me on this episode. I love you so much and I appreciate you, and just sending you all the vibes and love. And remember, self-care, self-love all day, every day, in every way. Do I have your word? Good. Let's rock.